Hello, hello, hello. We are back on the Pitchmark Collective. Listeners, make sure you're following us on Instagram, YouTube, and Spotify at Pitchmark Collective. We got Teddy, the DM for merch gentleman. He's all merchandising goes through TL2. Then we got Justin with us as well. Hashtag Bryson bandwagon fan. Bandwagon fan. Like to make a note, I've been Team Bryson since the beginning. I'm Cameron, your host, along with Teddy. Justin, how we doing, boys?
Doing fantastic. Just shoot me a message if you guys want any merch, t-shirts, hats, ball markers, tees, whatever you want.
You gonna take it directly out of your bag and just write with a Sharpie on it right now and send it all off?
Pretty much.
So,
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So funny story, Justin. So Teddy will get into his weekend golf, of course. But one thing that I took away from it was somebody, hopefully an avid listener, decided to make a couple shirts for this little golf outing that Teddy was on and surprise him. And they don't look terrible at all.
No, I got to say the logo looks great on a t-shirt. It was a little surprising when we rolled up. So there was 8 of us. We rolled up and I rode with a couple of the guys. And when we ran into our host, he pulls out a bag and throws 2 shirts at 2 of the gentlemen I rode with. And they held them up and it was Pitchmark Collective on a t-shirt. They looked great. I was excited. I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. This is awesome. He didn't pull anything else out of the bag. The bag was empty and it was only t-shirts for the 2 other gentlemen, not myself. So I was confused. I was asking them, like, is this part of some gag that you guys are about to do? Like, what's the joke here? And then I got accused of being defensive and was told I needed to calm down and it's not a big deal. So I don't really know what the whole purpose was. I was waiting for something, a post or, some sort of joke to come up.
Something negative to happen.
No, nothing's popped up about it anywhere.
Nothing.
One of them within that
wore
group.
it. Yeah, they wore it on the drive home. That was it. No pictures or anything. Nothing was said.
The way I see it, it's completely free marketing that we have.
Correct.
No
a lot of people.
Shout out to that guy.
Yes, a lot of people were able to see the shirts, see the logos. Kids were asking, where they got that from. Where could
I
they
heard
get
Bryson autographed one in Pinehurst.
Yeah, well, one of our fans was he was wearing one of the hats. He's shout out to one of our very special listeners. He was just in his wheelchair waiting to cheer on Bryson on the 18th green. Bryson walked by, stopped, pulled out the Sharpie, signed the Pitchmark Collective hat. The hat's probably on eBay now. I haven't checked, but I'm pretty sure it is.
It's there.
It's there.
Justin,
Yeah.
How we doing? How's your weekend? Let me ask you. Let's start it off here. What's up with the Bryson bandwagon fan little banner you got going on?
Man, I was a Bryson fan when he got big. Right, like when he bulked up.
Like when he physically got big, yeah.
I was like, oh, this could be really cool.
His meathead
And then
face.
along with muscles and his huge neck went his huge head, and he just became a D-bag in some ways. Like just some of the stuff he said, I was like, man, you are so disingenuous about everything you're saying right now, or the remarks he would make. And it probably went along with like him going to live as well. But when it was like Brooks versus Bryson, you mentioned that, I was 100% Brooks. Like I don't know. I've always been a fan of Brooks. But he's not like Bryson's changed a little bit, I think. I don't know. My wife even said it. We were watching yesterday's final round and she was like, huh, he seems a little different. And we watched the interview that he did with Smiley, on what, hole 12 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, huh, he seems way cooler than he used to be.
When he did that happy hour with Smiley after his round.
Yeah, that's what we were watching.
They need to do that like every tournament because that's always good. They had Kisner at the Waste Management, Bryson here. I think they had Sepp on too the day he made the hole in one. Like
Yep.
that's always been great. That's been a great addition. Smiley kills it.
Yeah.
Going back to like when he bulked up and his head blew up, my favorite thing I think he ever said from that kind of time period was how he plays Augusta as like a par 68, and then he just completely misses the cut.
Yeah. But there was like things like that just I was like, my gosh, this guy. Like, come on, you're not like
Mhm.
you're not a superstar yet. Like you haven't even really won anything big. You won a few COVID tournaments, right? Which I mean, they're still
U.S. Open at Wingfoot.
Yeah, I mean
And-
after he did win the US Open there, but it was I don't know, he just seems different. It's cool to watch him. I mean, he's still eccentric as hell, right? Like the whole Epsom salt water to balance out the golf balls and see which ones are the most balanced and all the other things. I mean, crank drivers are ugly as hell. Like who would
Yeah,
have
but they win U.S. Opens.
who would have thought 10 years ago we'd have a crank driver in the bag of the US Open winner?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's so
All right.
weird. I think.
So Justin's coming around on Bryson slowly but surely. Remember
to be
DM Teddy?
fair, I think the Epsom
Merch?
salts and
Teddy got so much sodium from saying that that it paused.
He's
So-
back. He's back. As you
so
can
to
tell
be
by his
fair,
nice
Teddy-
expletive.
Yeah.
ridiculous. No, I think for
So-
Bridgestones, I think you do have to do the balancing of the golf balls. With Pro Vs and
He
Pro
plays-
1Xs, I don't think you have to.
Yeah, he plays Titleist. He was playing
Yeah,
Titleist this
he's
week.
playing left ashes.
Is he? He's back with Titleist now. When did
Yeah,
he leave
He's
Bridgestone?
Titleist. I don't know.
Yeah, he
I
left
noticed the same
everything.
thing. They showed his ball sitting in the divot. I think it was on the first hole
Yeah,
on number one or first hole on round 4. And it's like, oh yeah, that's a Titleist. Because I
Yeah.
thought he was Bridgestone too.
One Titleist's social media has been Bryson all day. So, but yeah, he's playing
We're
the
lucky for them. Whoever wins, they can just blast him on social media because
for the most
that's
part.
the tour.
Yeah,
That's the tour player's ball right there.
yeah. So, I mean, it's the Pro V1X left ash is what he's playing. But he went away from everything he was doing like at the PGA Tour. I mean, he was a Puma guy, gone. Cobra, gone. Now he's wearing FootJoy, and he's got that freaking crank driver in 3-wood. Then he's got the 3D printed irons, which are just kind of crazy. Here's my question: who's going arm lock and who's going like 1-length irons?
I tried. So I was working at a golf retailer when the 1-lengths first came out. I was able to get like a really good deal on the forged 1-lengths. Honestly, they were fantastic. I got them because I wasn't really playing that much. So just to play once every month or two, they were perfect because you didn't really have to change anything from club to club, right? I mean, you set up 4-iron through pitching wedge. It was all the same. And I really liked them. I get it. I understood. I didn't do the wedges or anything. To me, that was a little too much. I don't think I could do that because it is kind of jarring setting up for a pitching wedge that's going to go, 140 yards. And it's the length of mine were all 7-iron lengths. That's what they sold them as. So it was kind of crazy to set up to a 6-iron that was wide open. The face is just wide open. And think that it's only going to go, 140 yards at the most. But it was super. I was playing really good golf with them. I mean, I sold quite a bit after using them.
Yeah, I mean, I could see how it would be. Like, I love swinging a 7-iron. 7 and 8 irons are like my favorite thing to hit in my bag. So why don't we just make the entire setup that? So
I mean, he does the 6-iron. I don't think if I were to do it again, I would probably do the same because it was easier to get over the pitching wedge and 9-iron being super long. It was easier to get over that than it was for a 4-iron to be
short.
A 7-iron.
Yeah.
Because then at that point, it's literally, a 7-iron with the face. So like there's no loft in it whatsoever. And it's also short. So that was crazier to get over, thinking that like it's just going to be low bullets, and it wouldn't be. It would be a normal height for a 4-iron, but mentally that was harder than the pitching wedge and 9-iron.
Interesting. Okay, so I mean, his aren't. They're not normal one lengths though. I mean, at this point, he's going one length with like crazy lofts. I mean, his 6-iron.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
9-iron is the same as a 6, and his 6-iron is basically a 2-iron or something like that.
yeah. I mean, he's adjusted. I mean, the lengths are all, like I said, his are all 6-iron lengths. His lofts have all been changed, and the weight of the heads have been changed to where he can just fit, or hit whatever number he's trying to get to. Even though I picked Bryson to win, I still wasn't sure how he was going to fare with a lot of the touch shots, especially with those greens. But there was, which hole was it? What's the first par 3 on the back? 12 or
Yeah,
13?
12.
12.
13's that drivable par 4.
So 12, he was off the tee. I think he was kind of left in the shit, and then he hit something up just short of the bunker, the greenside bunker left, and he had like 10 feet, but it was only like a 40-yard little wedge shot into it, and I thought he was either going to dump it in the bunker or just go 30 feet past the cup, and he hit it to like 4 feet. Like he just kind of hit like a little nipper, hit it 4 feet, made the putt, and it was just, once he did that, I figured he's going to be okay with the wedges.
The first par 3 on the back is also number 15.
Par 3?
After the drivable par 4. Yeah, I mean, even like just his like entertainment value that he had. I mean, on Saturday, he came up to, gosh, it's got to be 13. I think that was the hole where he came up on Saturday, and like he even told the crowd, he's like, please don't boo me. I am going to hit. Like he hit 7-iron, does exactly what he said he didn't want to do, goes into the wire brush, right? And he's like, oh gosh, guys, don't boo me, please. And then, I mean, on Sunday he did take driver, which was kind of fun to see. But he lost his driver on like what, maybe it was that hole. I mean,
it was kind of all over. I think all day. I think he only hit 2 or 3 fairways.
Yeah. So, I mean, he was playing shots from everywhere, all over the course. He was kind of playing my type of golf. I mean, I don't find the fairway, but I'm good distance down there and just got to punch out all the time. So I can appreciate it.
You heard it here first. Justin hits it as far as Bryson does.
No, that's not what I said. I said I hit it down there. So, but I can get down with Bryson. Like it's growing on me. I think some of his YouTube videos are kind of interesting. Yeah, I mean, it'll be.
I think it helps. Like previously, you're not exposed to everything that he does, and it was only like the snippets of him either nerding out or just saying outlandish things that I don't even think he really understood when it came to physics. So I think now being like on YouTube and having more of a social media presence and people being able to see some of the other things that he believes in and can talk about, I think that helps other people relate to him.
Totally. Do we like him more than Rory?
No.
I'll probably say no to that. I was finding myself more so pulling for Rory down the stretch yesterday. Like just watching those 2 putts on 16 and 18 not go into the hole, I was just like, wow, just devastated.
Yeah, it was brutal.
I don't think it's not a disliking of Bryson. I think it's just a wanting Rory to like finally get over that drought.
A decade.
And to do it in that fashion would have been crazy.
I mean,
if he makes those putts, he's 4 under on Championship Sunday at Pinehurst number 2 to win the U.S. Open. Like if he makes it on 16, like I think he wins. It changes that dynamic. Of course, you never really know, but if he sinks that putt on 16, Momentum's there. He didn't really hit a bad shot on 17. It was just hard as a
No.
rock. Hit it a little too low probably than he probably wanted to or usually does. And it just rolled out into the bunker. Went up and down for par. And then 18, I mean, did he hit a bad putt or what?
Got
It's
out of it real quick.
yeah. I mean, so in our group chat, I sent you guys the picture of him lining up. You know, he was probably playing at about a cup and a half outside left of what, like that was the target line.
Mm-hmm.
It started on the target line, but then at impact, you know, he's kind of just getting up and out of it. So the ball just didn't really have much behind it. And so it just kind of lost it and kind of pushed it to the right. I think it was a really tough putt. I mean, having a 3-footer, you guys know, first off, 3-footers are tough when it's not just a straight uphill, you know, for double bogey, like it doesn't really matter. Those are easy. But when it's amplified by the fact it's on 18, it's to potentially win the tournament. It's a sliding putt that already has like a foot of break in it. And just giving it that much respect and playing it even further outside left, like nobody wants to do that. I think if he misses that putt on any other hole aside from 18, I don't think it's seen as just like a bad, like a terrible putt. But it was 18 and it was to potentially win the tournament or tie. So
yeah, or force a playoff or have a playoff. Yeah.
So now it's just an awful, awful putt, and I'm sure he hates himself.
Oh, hates himself enough to pull out of a signature event.
Right.
It's just he was 4 under after what 13.
Yeah.
And then bogeys 3 of the last 5. You know, Bryson didn't play bad. He was +1 on the day, but like Rory had one hand on the trophy going into those last 5 holes, right? And the momentum was all his way. And then when he missed that putt on 16, just like
16 was bad. That was just a bad putt.
I brought this up, Teddy. I said, you know, he saw Cantley's putt dive right and overcorrect. I mean, do you think that happens? Or do you think these guys kind of trust their gut more so or what have you? Because I mean, they got to be watching. You know, they're watching these putts and these shots, even when it's windy and all that.
I think, depending on I think with wind and stuff like that, I think you can take other players, like what the ball does for them. You can take a little more solace in that. I think with putting, I mean, I don't know about you guys. Like, I'll take note of, you know, one of my playing partners, if they're on a similar line, you know, see if I'm kind of in between, like left or right or how much. I'll take note of what the ball does when they hit it. But ultimately, I have to account for what are my eyes showing me. And I have to trust that, because I'll sleep better if I know that I missed it because I misread it, or if I pulled it or pushed it.
But the biggest thing, you just said it right there. Like, Rory can pick someone out like pulling or pushing a putt, like in a second, where like Cam, you and I would look at it and be like, oh, you hit a good putt. It's like, oh no, you see the
looks good to me. Yeah.
You know. So but I don't think they put as much thought into it as maybe we would, just because we wouldn't be able to like actually tell that difference.
Yeah, I think what he said is like in his head, he's probably like, oh, Patrick either A, hit a good putt there and just misread it, or B, he actually, like you said, Justin, he can see if it's pushed or pulled or what have you. I was just curious on your guys' thoughts if he took that into account and how much you think that played a role in his putt that he hit.
He might have, and I mean, we saw where he struck, like where he made contact with the ball, and it was on the upper half. So I mean, he can't. It obviously wasn't a good roll. But I think those guys, I think more often they're probably trusting their instincts, because especially in a moment like that, like you can't just.
Yeah.
You can't just,
especially Rory, who's got like 41 professional wins and
right.
Yeah.
So since we're talking about like the Rory Bryson thing, 16. I text you, Cam, and I was like, this is such Bush League. Them yelling and chanting USA. I was so mad when they started. I'm like, this makes us look like such douchebags. What are you guys doing? But then we get
I'm also yelling USA if I'm there. Like, it is the U.S. Open, the National Open for America, and
yeah,
we
but
want
he's
an
playing
American
in
to
USA
win.
for that. Like, what, everyone there is cheering for Bryson, and so Bryson gets the USA chant.
Yeah,
The whole thing is just so stupid.
It's just dumb. I don't know. I
mean,
don't get it.
I'm
So,
not starting a chant. I may not even join in, but I'm not going to sit here and say like they're out of pocket for doing it.
oh, I thought it was dumb. But here. So we had 16 happen. 18 obviously happens. Last at the PGA Championship, Bryson comes up, congratulates Xander. I mean, almost every runner up would, and now we've got Rory that just goes out and ghosts Bryson, like just bounces right after the tournament. Is that,
The
do you
the
call
thing is
foul
though,
on that, or should he have stayed around and at least shook the guy's hand?
no, the thing is, a lot of times second place is on the same green as you. It's been in the group with you all day. Like, if he stayed around, we're probably not even seeing it anyways, because they're going to be in that cart tunnel, or it's going to be caught barely on camera in the scoring table or that hallway. You know, now I don't really care that Rory drove off. I don't. It's hard to say if it'd be different if roles were reversed. Bryson was in the group before. Like, is he really going to sit around and say, "Hey, Rory, great job"? You don't know. I don't know. I don't. I don't blame Rory. It's probably the toughest loss he's ever taken and caused himself in his pro career.
Yeah, I think it's also tough because in the fashion of which it happened, I think if two players are competing and one of them just doesn't have their best stuff and the other guy's obviously just playing great and wins the tournament, I think that's one thing to kind of shake his hand, tip your cap to him. But for Rory, it probably felt more like he kind of gave it away coming down the stretch. And so, I think it's better for him to stick around and congratulate him and talk to the media and at least just get it over with, because there's going to be questions. He's going to have to, he doesn't have to answer a bunch of questions or, go through the whole rigmarole, but somebody like him, he's kind of expected to.
His announcement of like withdrawing and all that, like he posted something on Instagram or somewhere, Twitter.
Yep.
He's like, "Yeah, I'll see you at the Genesis Scottish Open." So he's got to be mentally preparing himself to not even answer a question about the Scottish Open. It's all going to be about why did you, snub Bryson at the U.S. Open.
Yeah.
Overall, I think it's. I mean, are people going to remember that 5 years from now? Are they going to bring it up in 2029 when it's back at Pinehurst? Who knows?
I think we got to remember, like, they're still humans. Rory's
Yeah.
not any different than the three guys on this podcast, right? Like, yeah, he's a phenomenal golfer.
He's a little different.
He's still a person with emotions and feelings, and like, I mean, that's my point, is that he's still a person, and you get hot under the collar a little bit, and sometimes the best choices aren't made. I mean, I don't know. We put too much tout into that. I mean, but I will say, like, Bryson coming out and doing that to Xander at the PGA, that was pretty classy. So kind of miss out on being able to say like, oh yeah, Rory lost, but he's still one of the classiest guys on tour.
Yeah, and I think too, like, Bryson is making an effort to win people over, right?
Fully embracing
he's had a
value.
Yeah, he's had a very split, fan base. Like, you either loved Bryson or you hated Bryson. There wasn't like indifference. Whereas Rory, like, yeah, he has people who aren't a huge fan of him and thinks he's, Jay Monahan's puppet when it comes to the players and all that stuff. But he also has a very loyal fan base because of his tenure. He's one of the, like Bryson said, he's one of the greatest players to ever play the game.
Yep.
Like, if Bryson's not feeling snubbed about it, then I'm not going to have any feelings about it. Like, come on. Bryson was running around the 18th hole, letting
I was going to say, he was
everyone like
pretty quick to move on from it being a big deal.
He didn't care. So why should we?
Yeah. No, I can totally agree with all those thoughts. I mean, It
And
is.
Brooks Koepka refused to talk to media all week. He's like, I'm not doing that. So
but that's
non-story
Brooks,
there.
it's not
Or,
Rory. Everyone loves Rory.
I don't know. The guy, I think if the way, especially how he's always been media facing and always does show up, I think you give him a pass. I think it's fine.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's funny that the only thing we've talked about so far is Rory and Bryson, right? But the first 2 rounds were led by someone else, a first timer to the U.S. Open. I mean, Ludwig played great golf for 3 days. I mean, even on Saturday he played great golf, and he is
That's my pick
nowhere
to
to
win.
be. He is nowhere to be seen. No one's talking about him. Nothing's happening, and it's just kind of interesting to see that happen with. I mean, I honestly thought he was going to win. I played golf on
Mhm.
Sunday, or I played golf on Saturday morning, and there's 2 buddies, and the bet was for $20, take Ludwig and Bryson, and the other guy gets the field. He was like, done. I'll take Bryson and Ludwig all day long.
Mhm.
I was like, that's a pretty good bet, right? But I thought it was going to be the other way around. I thought Ludwig was going to keep playing and just be that steel face champ.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think just that course beat a lot of players, and although he got the best of it, the first 2 days, Saturday, Sunday, it was tough.
It's just one of those that's such a grind. I mean, just look at like how Scotty was playing. Like, you can only hit it out of the native areas and the sand so many times before you just it just stops working out.
Yeah.
Right. Or just getting between some of the plants and everything like that. Like, it's just a numbers game at that point, and you're going to get frustrated. The course is going to win. And there's a certain percentage of luck, I think, that went into it. And it's tough to kind of hold it off for 72 holes.
Yeah. Especially a guy, this is his first US Open. He had the
Mhm.
36 hole lead. Guy's a star. He's going to be a star for a long time. Fun fact, my DFL pick and my win pick both tied for 12th this week. So
Is that a point? Do you get a point for that?
Yeah.
The only 2 at +1. Hey, someone add the rules official here for points.
See if we talk about that.
That's just TL2's diary. He's got to go back and read what the rules he typed out one day.
I'm checking now.
So
No, they do not. You do not get points for that.
All right. Well, I thought, 6 under 1, right? I think that's probably better than what the USGA was hoping for when it came to score, right? 9 under 1, 2014 here. What was Wyndham last year? I think 10, 11 under par at LACC.
Yeah. I think from a scoring perspective, I think everybody, at least the fans, everybody loved how it was playing out. Obviously, it was very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody really took it that low. I think Bryson just kind of hung on for the most part. I mean,
you get all the way down to tied for 9th and above is even or under par.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And below that, from 12th to last place, 12th is plus numbers.
Yeah.
Low round on Sunday, a couple of 3 unders. Sam Burns and Tony Finau. Shout out Big Tone.
That was I was rooting for him. So actually
that was going crazy.
I think that's kind of a good question to ask though, because obviously we're talking about Bryson, we're talking about Rory and all this, but who surprised each of you the most in the US Open?
I think Cantlay, because he hasn't really been in great form.
Yeah.
And he was there, and I think Sunday just kind of got the best of him too. Late Saturday and all of Sunday, he couldn't get anything to drop, and the course kind of chewed him up and spit him out a little bit, like it did a lot of people. But I was surprised to see Cantlay there, playing with Rory, penultimate group, which people thought might have had some fireworks or some little
Yeah, what kind of beef's gonna
drama
happen
to it
after
from
the
the Ryder Cup.
Yeah. Same can't lays your pick there.
Obviously, I was surprised about Sergio. Obviously, 'cause I picked him to finish last.
Yeah. That's fair. I think honestly, usually you can always bet on like a backdoor top 10 from Rory, but he was being in that, second to last group and really like being the guy that's making the charge when nobody else was really. I mean, Finau kind of was, but he was pretty far back to start. But he kind of got hot, on that back nine. But Rory doing what he was doing up until, really up until like the 16th hole. I think that second bogey was the main issue.
Yeah.
But that was the most surprising for me because it just looked like, I mean, he was hitting every shot he needed to, and Bryson wasn't really doing it. Bryson wasn't making any big numbers or anything, but like he just wasn't it off the tee. He was struggling. He'd somehow get it on the green or around the green, get his par, move on. Whereas Rory was, throwing some darts and making those 10 to 15 foot birdie putts, which is scary. So I think that was the most surprising thing, was to see him actually playing that well while being in contention before the round even started, and kind of like giving you that hope that, holy shit, he's actually going to do this. And then obviously it didn't end up working out. But
my two biggest surprise, completely different. Tony Finau. That was like number one, to see him actually be up there, because he's shown glimpses of it, right? Like he comes up in one round, he'll poke his head towards the leaderboard, and then all of a sudden falls apart or putting goes away, right? Everyone talks about his putting and everything that he's changed when it comes to that. I also was super surprised on Sunday to see Hideki move up, or Saturday/Sunday. Like those were my two big, like, positive surprises, right?
yeah,
Now,
Hideki was one that, like, before the tournament started, you would kind of think like, this is a
thought
course
there'd
you
be
should
something.
probably play well at. But yeah, after the first or first day and a half.
So now, like, the
Hideki went
positive
low
one,
on Friday. He was 4 under.
yeah, he
Yeah.
put himself up there. But for the opposite side, who was the biggest disappointment of the tournament for you?
I mean, the big one's Scotty, right? He number one player in the world. He's won everything, and I think he ends up at +8 for the tournament, which I think he went like 25, 26 holes without a birdie, and like you can't do that really in any high level golf tournament without being worried. He couldn't make anything. His putter kind of gone, and then he showed a lot of frustration, a little bit more than I think we've seen in the past,
compared to what he's shown. Yeah,
which was kind of overall surprising as well.
What do you think, Teddy?
That's the easy answer, of course. Scotty.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty. Like going into it, it was almost. I kind of thought others would compete, and I wasn't necessarily thinking that Scotty would win, but I definitely thought he would be up there, just because it seemed like, I mean, that is the type of course that fits his game, right? He doesn't get frustrated. He can just take whatever the course is giving him. He's not necessarily going to play conservative, but he's going to hit the right shots and make the putts that he needs to make, especially this year. So that was definitely the most surprising. I don't know. I'm kind of going through the missed cuts just to see like if anybody stands out.
I thought Max was surefire going to make the cut. Max Homa.
I mean, you're getting close to two of my thoughts where it was like, Will Zalatoris, really? Like I thought he would actually play really well. I don't think it was his putter. Like if you look at some of his rounds, his putting was actually
watching
all right.
him, it seemed like he made quite a few putts.
Yeah, but then you also get into like Jason Day. That was super disappointing to see Jason Day. He's been playing pretty good, like pretty solid.
I think it's just from like a lot of those guys, like just from what we were saying before, like just off the tee and like just hitting it into weird spots all day, or at least more than half the day. Like I think that's why some of these big names, like just it couldn't pan out. Is just
I mean,
not giving them chances.
my number
same
one
thing-
like expectation was Brooks.
Hmm.
Like I was so
Right.
surprised to see him pop his head towards the top, stay there for a round, and then kind of just fall creeping down.
Fizzle out.
Yeah, just the entire week. So
Yep. I thought Cam Smith would have had maybe a better showing. I mean, he's tied for 32nd at +7. He's got a short game. He's got the short game for this kind of course and this kind of setup. But like Teddy, you said, you can't hit it into the shit every drive and expect to be able to go make a low score, which is also what played into my worry about Bryson on Sunday. Like, just seemed like, yeah, he was going to be in the wiregrass and in the waste areas all day, which he was. But he got some nice breaks in there. He wasn't ever really, until 18, he was never really in trouble of being able to put the club on the ball and hit the ball where he wanted to for the most part.
Well, even like on 18 on Saturday, Bryson, like, he hit it so far left, but he was past all of the wire brush. Like,
distance definitely helped him.
Yeah. It helps to be, if you're going to be in the shit, it helps to be 45 yards ahead of everybody else.
Yeah.
Which is like, I think what happened at Wingfoot, right? He's like, we're going to miss fairways. Like, we might as well miss the fairway 50 yards longer.
He admitted that on day one. He was like, all I'm doing is bomb and gouge Wingfoot.
Yeah.
That was his plan. He's like, I would rather be 40, 50 yards ahead with a wedge in my hand than back there with a 6-iron.
Yeah.
So.
But, I mean, Bryson had some great recovery shots. I think you were touching on it, Teddy, earlier. I mean, of course, the 55-yard fairway bunker shot into 18 to put it to 4 feet.
That's the worst. That's the worst shot. That's the worst shot. I don't know about you guys, but that's the worst shot to hit.
In his live bio, it even said before this, it's like, what's your like least favorite shot or hardest shot to hit? It's like 60-yard fairway bunker shot.
Yeah.
So I was going back and forth with a buddy of mine at Going For It, because he's got his own YouTube channel and stuff. But we were going back and forth. I'm like, this is the touchiest shot ever, because you are on just a fine line of putting it over the green and dumping it 5 feet in front of you. And he's like, nope, he's going to put it to 10 feet. And I was like, what in the hell? Like, all these players are good enough to do it, but it was crazy that he called it. And then him and I were like texting back and forth, and he's like, he's been practicing this exact shot and all these sand shots on his YouTube channel for the last 2 weeks, I guess. Like going live and doing that kind of stuff. So, I mean, good on him for putting in the work to figure some sand stuff out, because that's what won it right there. I mean, that root shot too, tree in your backswing, coming down on a root. Like, I mean, he played 2 perfect shots. Well, 3.
He had to think, he's like, worst case, we're in that bunker. Best case, we may be short of it or go through it or over it into the waste area. That was just an incredible shot. That's probably the most important shot of his career that he could possibly ever hit.
Totally.
Even if we fast forward 10 years from now, it still could be that number one, just with how important it was. Because I personally, I'm blading that into a window 100% of the time. I'm hitting that 55-yard shot 120 yards on accident.
Going right into the clubhouse and getting lunch.
Yeah. Or I'm like, we're just gonna hit 6 inches in front of this ball rather than the 3 or 4 or whatever it is, and like we're just getting it out. Like,
yeah, that's usually mine. Especially like the 50 to 60 yarder one. It's just a little chunky, and it might chase up. Most likely not. It'll stay just short of the green or be in the rough, whatever's in between me and the green at that point, which is usually another bunker. But yeah, it's good that he's been practicing it, because obviously it came in handy. But I think that's one of the shots that, like, those guys don't get that often. 100 yards and further, like, they're fine with those shots. It's that 50 to 60 yard bunker shot. They just, the way they play these courses, you just don't get it that much. So are you really going to spend days on end practicing it? Probably not.
Yeah.
But good on Bryson for kind of seeing into the future and thinking it's going to come in real handy.
Well, when you only play, 10 tournaments a year now, you got a little bit more time to go and
That's
hit
true.
those different shots.
Well, that does bring up that now Brooks and Bryson have more majors since the defection than Justin Thomas, Ricky Fowler, and Jordan Spieth put together. Isn't that crazy? I saw that stat today and I started looking up the numbers. I was like, holy crap.
Yeah, but they still have less than that group total.
I was like,
And-
oh, that's horrible.
I mean, I think if you look at how those other guys have been playing, though, it's obviously not surprising.
Mhm.
Marriage, man. Marriage.
It'll
They
kill
got
you.
married and their golf games went to hell. I can only say that because my wife's not home right now. So we're good.
Smart.
I don't know. I think the whole obviously Live isn't hindering the amount of golf people are playing on Live isn't hindering everybody, right? But you
No.
have to get your reps in, and you don't really know. I mean, Bryson, if he's not playing a Live tournament. He's obviously making his content. He's training. We see that he's documenting it for his fans. I mean, is everyone else really putting in that work? I mean, these guys can go and qualify, which is what
Yeah.
Sergio did, right? They're not doing that. You have people complaining that Taylor Gooch and Neiman and all these people weren't in the U.S. Opens. Like, they have avenues to go and do that. If they're so good, then they can go through that avenue while we work through whatever we're working through as a PGA Tour, Live Tour agreement / I don't want to call it a merger because I don't think it's going to merge. Then we're going to have two separate golf leagues.
It
that
is fizzled
compete.
out. Like, we are in the dead zone right now. It's been a long time since there's been any conversation about
Mhm.
PGA Tour and Live coming together, or, I mean, no one knows what's going to happen with that at this point.
Teddy, do you have any insight? You seem like an insider guy. You know people or what?
For as far as like a merge.
Where do you if you don't, where do you think it's going to go? Like, what do you think?
Well, so I believe the streets are saying that some paperwork has been drafted.
Trustworthy street.
And so before the end of the summer, there will be some sort of announcement with how both leagues are proceeding forward. I agree. I don't think it's going to be a merger. I think it's just going to be some sort of avenue for both tours to coexist. Maybe that means, the world golf ranking points, or it just means, certain avenues for Live players to compete in majors a little more easily, depending on their standings. I haven't seen the paperwork. I'm just going off what the streets have been saying.
Yeah.
So if we're speculating here, they are apart right now and they're coexisting.
Yes.
What's it change? And for world ranking points, does Live go 72 holes to make it so that it's equal like playing? Because I think that's one of the bigger questions.
Yeah.
They better change their name then.
Yeah, maybe it's not world golf ranking points, but just some sort of point structure that can translate into PGA Tour events. And also,
like, they could be
Ryder
ranked
Cup.
500 still, but the
Right.
PGA Tour
But
will
they're
recognize their merit or what
top
have you.
10 on the Live Tour, so they can earn some sort of exemption into some of those other events.
Just do something like the qualifier, like the Myrtle Beach Classic, and just put it on YouTube, and top 3 guys get in.
Yeah,
honestly, I would probably watch that every week.
Yeah, I would too.
I thought that was actually pretty cool content how they put that together.
Yeah. Going back to the Live though, like, it's in Nashville this week, right? I'm going to watch it because I don't have to wake up at 2 a.m. to like watch it, right, live. And every tournament I DVR, right, and it's there for me to. I never watch it, if it's recorded. So I think Live Nashville is going to be, Twitter bots are going to say this is the most watched golf event this month. They're going to go crazy, whatever. Bryson, I think this is a big week for Bryson to win more people over and maybe change the narrative for Live in general. Like, if he goes from winning the U.S. Open to then winning like Live Nashville, it's just going to be great for Live in general. But
I mean, there's no chance he decides not to play, right?
I don't think you have a choice.
yeah,
Unless you're like
I think when
in
you sign a
very
contract
injured.
if you can walk and talk and breathe, then you have to play
Better
golf for
show
him. I
up.
mean,
Yeah.
I can't imagine they sold him on. Yeah, we'll let you. You're going to play a third of the golf. You can take a week off whenever you want. I don't think that's happening.
Yeah, that's valid. Valid.
Does John Rahm make a comeback? Has anybody heard about his foot? Is his foot still there?
So I reached out to a podiatrist, good buddy of mine. He said he believes Rom will be back and will be playing this week.
It's just so it sounds like it's just
fine.
terrible timing on getting a cut on your foot.
Yes,
because it makes
And-
sense why you had to. Like, it's just gonna be sweating. It's gonna get dirty. It's gonna be
Yes.
yeah.
Affected.
and to
Just
clarify, it was not the clubbed foot; it was his left foot that
Gotcha.
had the cut.
John Rahm wasn't going to do anything in the U.S. Open, anyways. Let's be,
All right, I'm probably not going to say
let's be honest.
I wouldn't say that either. I mean,
that.
yeah, I'll let
You-
you die on that hill yourself, Justin.
I'm totally fine with that. He wasn't going to do anything.
That's a good segue. Should we go into points now?
I don't want
Saying that
to.
Rom's
Can we
not
skip,
gonna-
Justin? We should skip points, right?
We
You don't
we
wanna do
should
this one?
just like end the points thing because I don't know if I can actually come back at this point. This
Justin's
is,
gonna be out of it.
I'm going to be in a hole, a deep,
No,
deep hole,
no.
real quick.
You need to do what Teddy has done the last
Yeah.
2 weeks and pick the outright winner 2
Yeah.
weeks in a row.
If you do that and just get a sweep of the points, I mean you're not that far behind. So for those of you watching at home, so I got 3 points for picking Bryson to win outright. That brings my total to 15. Cam got 1 point for getting the cut correct. The cut was 5 over. Cam guessed that the cut would be 5 over. So he is now at 11. So I'm at 15. Cam's at 11. Justin, you got 1 point for your dead last pick, which you were trying to give me the point earlier today when we were
Yeah.
figuring out the points.
He wanted to give you every point.
He tried
He's
giving
like,
me
just
the
give it
point.
all to Teddy. I said, no. Give me my point.
He was trying to give
I'm
me
still
his
winning.
point for like 5 minutes until I looked it up to tell him who shot
Mhm.
who.
I was watching
Um,
DJ and I was like, oh yeah, DJ's behind Jim Herman. And at some
Ye-
point, Jim Herman was ahead of DJ.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shoot, Jim's actually gonna make the cut. And that was probably, later in the Friday. And I stopped paying attention to Jim Herman and DJ because I knew that was going south real quick. But
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty boring person.
Yeah.
pretty-
For some
Boring group
reason,
to
whenever you
pay
keep
attention.
saying Jim Herman, I get a picture of Babe Ruth in my head. George Herman.
you should.
I don't think Babe Ruth had scoliosis. I think just Jim Herman does.
Probably not. Somebody
But
fact check that.
so
Jim
yeah,
Herman.
so Justin, you got 6 points. So I have 15. Cam has 11. Justin, you have 6. But
No, I have 12
mean,
now, right?
No, now you have 11. You had 10 last week.
Okay.
I
Brutal.
did the math. But I mean, you pick a winner next week, maybe get the cut, maybe a dead last. I mean, it's possible.
There's like what?
Well,
There's like 6
let's-
more tournaments before playoffs.
Let's remember, because everyone's gonna ridicule us if we don't talk about this now. This is not a cut event, right? Or is it?
The Travelers has no cut. I confirmed.
Yeah,
It's confirmed.
it's confirmed. So there was
All right,
only
well,
there was only 3 of the
only-
signature events. But let me ask this, since we're going to Travelers, do we even care about the signature events? Does it make any difference to the general public or the people watching golf?
I think leading up to a major championship, yes. Following a major championship, no. It's too much.
Well, I believe they're adjusting that. I think like the Memorial is no longer going to be right before. I think it's going to be like a couple weeks before the U.S. Open.
Okay.
I read something somewhere today.
I-
I think it helps. I mean, the Travelers has been at the same golf course for the last 33 years. You know, Rory just withdrew, so we're finding that maybe the money isn't such a factor to some of these guys. I mean, it makes sense. Rory is. I mean, how much more money can he make that makes an actual difference in his life at this
And he's
point?
not getting a divorce, so it's not like he's
Yeah.
losing,
Yeah,
half
he's
of it.
not expecting 60% of it to go away. Yeah. Personally, I like watching because I know like there's going to be a nice big field and high level players and the best players, on
The
tour.
only reason I like it is the fact that we've got the top players in the field guaranteed to be there, right?
Mhm.
Like it's almost like a mini major, I guess.
Unless there's a
But
cut line, because some of them have cut lines.
true, but then I also think this is the problem is that Rory now withdrawing, they don't refill his spot. So the next person in line doesn't actually get to take in that spot. I mean, think how cool it would be if like they threw in Neil Shipley after what he did in the Masters and in the US Open, or they throw in the next number person. I mean, the other thing about making these signature events is that now as a signature player, you go in there and you earn what 4 times the points or something like
Mhm.
that. And so if you're a Corn Ferry Tour player coming in trying to actually get your card for next year, you don't get to play in signature events unless you win. How likely is that
Well,
to happen? And
well,
so
Billy
there,
Horschel's in the Travelers from an exemption, from like a sponsor's exemption.
yeah, but I mean they only get a few of those. So think about trying to work your way up as a Corn Ferry Tour guy. Billy's got a name. It's the same thing like Webb Simpson. For whatever reason, Webb Simpson has exemptions into all of these. Like, I mean, someone coming up like
Yeah,
Pearson,
Adam Scott,
Cootie,
Webb.
right? Like Cootie's not gonna all of a sudden get an exception to this, but he's got to try and keep his tour card. I mean, there's those types of things, and now you've got a shortened list of events you can go to earn as many points as possible to try and keep it going for next year. I think it just makes it that much harder. That's the part I don't like about it because I don't think we're cultivating the next golf stars. I think we're making it really hard for golf to stay
Mhm.
alive with that, but we're
So
making
they
guys at
should
the
do
top feel
opposite
fat and
field
happy.
events.
That's what they have to do.
Yeah.
So they have to do these opposite field events, but they don't pay as much when it comes to points to try and keep your tour card. I don't know. That's just my one thought on signature events. I could really care less about the fact them being signature. I think the guys make enough money. I don't think we had to go out and jack everything up, but I'm clearly not in that same financial step as them. So I don't know. Give or take signature events. Be interesting to hear if any listener really hates what I just said, because I'm sure the guy from Kentucky will say it, whoever that guy was.
Yeah.
That guy
Hey,
just
speaking of listeners, make sure you're following, subscribing, liking everything Pitchmark Collective on Instagram, YouTube, and Spotify.
perfect. I like the plug. So going into the Travelers, are we doing picks for this?
Yeah. Why wouldn't we? We're here.
No, I know. Is it that time?
Let's do it. I mean, there's nothing really to say about the Travelers. Been at the same course for 33 years. Keegan Bradley won it last year. It's usually the same. It seems like it's the same guys who kind of are like in the top 10 for it.
I mean,
It's
it's
a
a
signature
shootout.
event, so it's really good players. They're going to be. I think Keegan won at like 25 under par last year, so it's going to be a birdie fest, completely opposite of what we just watched.
So
There you have it. That's the Travelers Championship.
I'm looking at last year. It ended at 23 under par. Keegan Bradley obviously won, but then you've got names like Brian Harmon, you've got Zach Blair, and you got Scotty and Cantlay. Which Brian Harmon didn't
Zach
play.
Blair ain't even in it this year. He didn't make it.
I know. It's just such a bummer that someone like that, because it's a perfect course for him. I mean, it's quote unquote shorter, right? So it's not like a bomber course. I mean, they're playing a par 70 at 6,800 yards. It's got to be one of the shortest courses on the tour.
I got nothing to say. I mean, they're gonna make a shit ton of birdies, and I like that kind of golf. Like I like watching them
It's
struggle,
exciting to watch.
but I also
It's gonna
like
be
it when they're just making everything. Like I'm indifferent.
totally.
I will
All right,
say
so
Zach Blair did have a nice showing at the U.S. Open this week.
it was amazing. I mean, it was also like home for him, obviously. I mean, he lives in the area and everything, so that was cool. And I was actually gonna say Zach Blair was right there for like my surprise.
Mhm.
I mean, Tony's a bigger name, stuff like that. So Sadecki, but it was cool to see Zach Blair have a good showing. Maybe we can get sponsored by the Buck Club.
Someone at Zach Blair, TBC.
Yeah. We just
Free
did the
farm.
first free marketing for the Buck Club, right? That deserves something.
I
All
do
right.
have a pretty
All right, let's
sick
get to our picks.
Buck Club putter cover. I
Yeah,
will say.
he's made some good covers, that's for sure. Designed
Yeah.
some good
All
covers.
right, so everyone that's listening, Teddy's gonna post this on our Instagram because I want to see what this cover looks like. I'm intrigued by this collection that TL2's got.
With the Travelers Championship, no cut line, we're going to go the DFLs and then winners. So, Teddy, you're first. Who's your DFL?
DFL, I don't know, man. It's tough. Everybody looks pretty good. And I also don't want to pick like a couple of the low-hanging fruit.
Well, Bjornbornson.
Yeah, or like, I mean, how Justin was saying, like Webb Simpson, like he probably shouldn't be in here. But also like, so the next one up would be Ricky Fowler.
Yeah.
I don't think Ricky Fowler's going to finish dead last in this event. Like, it's kind of tough. I might, you know what? I'm going to do, Justin, I'm going to copy you from a bit ago and pick Andrew Putnam. I'm going to take Andrew Putnam. I'm going to say he's still on the struggle bus. And yeah, I'm going to take him for DFL.
Wait, so I got to clear this up real quick. So if we can't pick Webb Simpson?
You can.
I mean, you could. You could.
It's a cowardly pick, is what he's saying.
Oh, wow. That's just like...
No, by all means. I mean, you could pick Webb. You could pick whoever you want to pick.
All right, so you picked Andrew Putnam.
Yeah.
All right, I am going to pick for my DFL Brendan Todd.
Hmm.
Gosh, remember when?
Because when this event did have a cut, he missed it the last 2 years.
But you remember when COVID, like during the COVID years, he was actually playing pretty good.
I'm happy.
Oh, he was on a heater.
Yeah.
While hitting it 270.
Yeah, exactly. Like, didn't he win 2 events or something like that?
The guy was on an unbelievable run.
Yeah. So I'm not taking Webb Simpson, even though that's probably the best.
Just
pick.
you can take Webb Simpson.
No,
Listen,
I'm not.
You can be a coward if you want. Like we're allowing you to
This
do
is the
that.
thing. Like when I make my comeback, I want my comeback to be real, and there's not going to be an asterisk.
We might have already texted each other to not pick Webb Simpson so that you could pick Webb.
Yeah, but I've got
possibly get a point.
Webb Simpson might actually play well, but
he might win this event.
Yeah.
Why don't you just pick
this
him?
guy? This guy is not going.
If you pick him DFL, he's winning the event. So
correct.
Yeah, that's the problem. I'm going with Adam Schenk.
I mean, sure.
Not horrible pick.
No, I think he might actually win this event.
He will not win.
He's missed the cut every year he's played it in the last 5 years. So there's no cut this year.
And he played pretty damn bad in his last few outings. So,
okay.
What a great event to turn it back around.
I hate you so much, Teddy.
So Putnam for Teddy, Brendan Todd for me, Adam Schenk for JL. Teddy, who's your outright winner to go 3 in a row?
So this is tough. This is really tough. You know, like part of me wants to say Scotty, right? Like he just seems like the type of person
he's been tearing up golf courses like this all year.
He's been tearing them up, and also like he's got to be upset with himself with the showing at the U.S. Open, and what a venue. I mean, he's played well here in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, every course sets up well for him.
I think when it's a birdie fest, like it's hard not to pick him, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
unless his putter goes cold.
Correct. Unless
that's probably all he's been doing since Sunday night is putting the ball.
Yeah. I feel like he's the type, like probably once he left Pinehurst, he's been on site and he's probably put in quite a few hours of work already. But I also don't want to pick Scotty because like it's kind of like picking Webb Simpson to finish last, you know?
It's kind of the coward.
It's funny. That was my thought too, Teddy. It's like if Scotty's available, I'm not going to pick him.
Yeah, just out of spite.
You have to take him. You have to take Scotty. Like
you don't have to.
You got it available, but
you can take a flyer.
Totally.
But the question is, how far down the list do you go to take the flyer? I think just with how this past weekend played out and kind of the golf that he's been playing, I think I'm going to take Ludwig. I think this kind of sets up well for a bounce back for him, and I think he gets it done and wins the tournament. I think if he doesn't win, I mean, it's top 3. I'll put any amount of money on that.
Yeah, I think he's locked in top 10. I think like he has to be. You took my golden child. He also was not one I was going to pick though.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
Who do you think my top 3 picks were? Like somehow
top 3. I think 1 was probably Morikawa.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Is that right or wrong?
He's in the top 3. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cantlay?
He was number 1. I'm picking Cantlay.
Yeah.
Who is the other one?
Brian Harman.
Okay. That's a good pick.
Patrick Cantlay, his worst finish in the last 5 years here is tied for 15th.
Yeah.
And then Brian Harman, pretty much the same story.
Yeah. I mean,
second last year, tied for 8th, tied for 5th. So 3 top 10s in the last 3 years here.
How do you overlook the number 3 player in the world, though?
Pretty easily. You just scroll right by their name.
But
you think about it for half a second and then just move on to somebody else that's probably better.
I like to keep my picks like, yeah, it's easy to pick Scheffler. It's easy to pick Xander, right? These guys they're winning. They're playing very well. I like keeping it interesting.
I don't think Xander. I think some of those guys. I mean, he played okay, all things considered. After
good the day 1 and 2.
Yeah,
playing good, but yeah.
I think it's kind of tough after that to kind of get yourself up for even though it's a signature event, the Travelers. I think it's tough to be as motivated as some of these other guys that we're talking about, trying to build on, the previous week. I think for me, that's why it's pretty easy to go in a different direction than Xander, just because it's like, what do you really have to prove this week if you're Xander,
So you want to make a bunch of money.
So my order was Cantlay, Morikawa, Harman. So it's like, Teddy, if you were to take Cantlay, I would take Morikawa.
Yeah, I was between those guys as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think Ludwig's like, he's young. I think for me, it's just he's in a separate category than those 3 guys that I wouldn't be surprised if those 3 guys would win. I just think Ludwig I think he's got a little bit more with how close he was this weekend. So I just think it's just going to be
So I didn't think I'd have even a chance to get to Scotty. I thought Xander would be taken off the board as well, but my 3, and I'm still trying to figure this one out. It was going to be Xander, Colin, and Tony. I was thinking Tony comes back. And,
I like Tony too. Tony
puts
too.
Puts together something special, since he's been.
It's a birdie fest,
and he's really good at putting like back-to-back weeks of solid play together. And I don't think he played bad at Pinehurst. I think he made a few short game mistakes, which you're not going to deal with that here.
Tied for 3rd, so
yeah.
Not
so,
bad.
I mean, I'm just gonna go with that. I'm going with Tony. I want to see
Big Tone.
But
Uh,
the problem
I'm personally,
now
I'm
that I've done it is probably DFL. So shit.
yeah.
Sorry, Tony.
Personally, I'm rooting for all three of our picks. Like I like rooting for Ludwig. His demeanor on the golf course, like, and he's young. Like
Mhm.
most of these guys, when they're young and they're playing at this high level, like they show frustration. They show that emotion in a different way. He's just like
giggles.
he hit one in the water on 15 at Augusta, and like the camera pans and he's just sitting there smiling, walking down the fairway. It's like, what are we talking about here?
Well, like
You
him
know?
and Tony, when they were playing on it was either Friday or Saturday, they got to one of the holes and they both hit carry 335 or something like
Mhm.
that. And the camera goes to them and they're just both like sitting there giggling. Like, can you believe how far that just went? Like,
Yeah.
holy shit, you know?
When they come to Denver for the BMW, they're gonna be bombing the ball.
Ooh, yeah.
Like I'm following the
make it out
Bombers.
there. I gotta go
following
out
the
there.
Bombers.
That'd be so much fun.
All right, so Teddy's got Putnam DFL. Who's your win? I just totally spaced.
Ludwig.
Ludwig. For the winner. I've got Patrick Cantlay for the winner in DFL. Brendan Todd. Justin picked Webb Simpson DFL.
No.
Adam Schenk. He's going last.
Adam Schenk.
Should we just pick
Adam
four,
Schenk
Justin,
DFL.
with Webb
Yeah.
Simpson and Scotty Scheffler?
You know,
I don't know
I've
how you're
thought
not
about
picking
that.
Scotty and just like taking this opportunity. It's blowing my mind.
So
the smart
honestly,
decision is to pick Scotty.
Yes, and I totally agree with it. But like in my mind, I always feel that when Scotty's gone through these like putting woes, right? Because he does go through streakiness of putter, just like any PGA Tour player.
He'll still be second place on Sunday.
He could be, and I totally get it. But I think that he'll have a few weeks where he's just not feeling the putter and he's going to go in a funk. Like I think there's going to be a time where he falls off and he's got to rebuild and he's not like, I don't think he loves being the guy that's just expected to win every week.
I think he's going to be number one in the world for the rest of this year and next year at minimum.
I just think mentally there's nothing phases him. I don't think any expectations or anything get to him. I don't think he listens to any of that. Just from watching Full Swing, right? Like all he cares about is his wife, his family, his God, and
playing good
putting
golf.
2001
putting the golf ball in the hole.
Honestly, I didn't even give myself much more thought than talking myself out of him because I didn't think I'd even get to him. So that's probably.
I like the picks we made because, like I said, we're not necessarily taking the favorite every week, right? Which I enjoy. And that being said, I'm gonna put $10 on Scotty.
Of course,
like, why wouldn't I?
Of course.
Well, I didn't pick him, so now he's
10,
got a
10
chance.
units. 10 units.
I put 40 units on Bryson last week.
Oh,
all right.
did.
So are we
Nice
doing
bet.
are we doing anything for Live Nashville? Are we picking winner and DFL?
Listen. No, let's not.
Okay.
I mean,
well, we can figure something out for some other events.
Yeah, we'll figure that out. The Live is like, I'll watch a little bit of it. I'm not necessarily that sold on it. You're not going to watch any of it. Teddy, I don't even know if Teddy likes golf at this point.
I'll watch some of it. I'll go back and forth.
Will.
I'll probably watch more of the LPGA Championship than I will Live.
I did play golf this past weekend though. I hate golf, but I did play.
Yeah, he played Innisbrook.
But we can figure something out for like the Ryder Cup and stuff, Justin. Well, there's going to be plenty of points throughout the season.
Okay. That's the only reason why Justin wants to pick Live this week is because there's more opportunity.
That's why I figured we'll figure something else out.
So I think that wraps us up. No,
I believe so. I'm gonna go ahead with my final thoughts, if that's okay, and just say that the Valspar at Innisbrook Copperhead, after playing the course, I don't see how they hold a professional tournament every year. It was ho-hum at best. Like it wasn't a bad course, but I've played much better courses.
Were your expectations higher?
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. I was excited to play it, but I wasn't like, oh yeah, I'm gonna play a PGA Tour course. It was just one like I'm standing on the tee box of maybe 4 golf holes. I was thinking to myself, oh, this is a decent hole. That's it. There's only 4 holes I remember. Everything else was kind of blah. The snake pit was maybe like a puddle of concern. Like it's not even, nothing was like overly difficult.
What Teddy is saying, he went 4 under through the snake pit.
No, I did not go for it. I played the snake pit even. Now we didn't play the tour tees, but our host volunteers for the tournament. So I mean, he's been there for 3 years, volunteering for the tournament.
Yeah, he plays it quite a bit, I think.
And I kept asking him, like, am I missing something? Is there an extra tee box like over there in the woods somewhere that I'm just not seeing? Like as I'm just looking back, and he's like, no, that's usually where they play it. It's like I don't see where the difficulty comes in. There's a couple holes that you're pretty limited off the tee. It is somewhat narrow, but I mean, if you're having a decent week with the driver, you're fine.
Yeah.
So yeah,
just
shithole,
bounce
bounce bar.
Go home. Yeah. Okay, Justin. Final thoughts.
Pick up your Zyn pouches. Don't throw them on the ground. Tired of seeing that at my course. It's annoying as hell. And as always, fix your pitch marks.
And please bet Adam Schenk to win because Justin picked him for DFL. I'll finish your thought for you.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd say final thoughts from Cam. It would be the U.S. Open was great this week. Really enjoyed it. It came down to the wire, which is what you always want. Non-golf related, I would highly encourage everyone listening to this podcast to go to the next Zach Bryan show near them because he puts on a fantastic show. That's how I spent my Saturday night, was at Empower Field at Mile High in Denver. Just an incredible show. Unofficial sponsor Miller Lite got us where we needed to be. And, it was just overall a great weekend. We won't talk about the golf that happened on Father's Day. We're not going to talk about it, okay? After the Zach Bryan conference, we don't need to talk about it. That's that conference.
Didn't count. Doesn't count.
But with that being said, happy Father's Day, belated to all the fathers listening. Happy Father's Day to you, Justin.
You as well.
I didn't text you yesterday. That's all right. But lastly, make sure you're liking, subscribing, following, and sharing us. We're on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, the Pitchmark Collective. And we'll talk to you next time.